Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and good morning, according to your time zone. This is Dina Badawi, Market Access Manager at Adissio. Thanks for joining us. In today's webinar, we're going to discuss all about animal nutrition from regulatory perspective to sustainability with our experts from Europe, Middle East, and Africa. They are bringing to us their expertise, knowledge, and valuable insights to build together a more sustainable world. Please join me and welcome our guest speakers. Dr. Rawan Zamili, Head of Feed Additive Registration in Ministry of Agriculture in Jordan. She holds a master's degree in clinical pharmacy from the University of Jordan with great experience in pharmaceutical registration and medical monitoring in Jordan and Saudi Arabia. Welcome, Dr. Rawan. And Mr. David Vilakazi, the Technical Advisor for Farm Feeds at the Directorate Agriculture Input Control, Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development. He's holding a master's degree in Animal Science from the University of Pretoria. In his current role, he's involving in the development and implementation of the animal feed regulatory framework in South Africa. Welcome on board, David. And from FIFANA, Dr. Luca Capodieci, the Technical and Regulatory Manager in FIFANA, the EU Association of Specialty Feed Ingredients and their mixture. Dr. Luca is holding a PhD degree in Agri-Food Economy from the University of Catania, Italy. He provides support to and coordination of expert groups and advocacy of industry interests through contacts with EU competent authorities. Welcome, Dr. Luca. And I'm also privileged to welcome Dr. Shuruk Al-Fawara, Head of Registration and Drug Control Department, Veterinary and Animal Health Directorate in Jordan. Dr. Shuruk is veterinarian with a master's degree in internal medicine. She's holding also the role of Vice Chairman of Committee of Registration of Veterinary Drugs and Vaccine, and also a member of GFDA Technical Committee. Welcome, Doctor. And last but not least, Dr. Douglas Nkosi. Dr. Nkosi is a research team manager for animal nutrition in Agriculture Research Council. He holds a PhD in agriculture, specializing in animal nutrition. He is also a multiple award winner and a member of many prestigious scientific and research institutions in South Africa. Welcome, Doctor. Before we start, I'd like just to mention that we're going to run a live Q&A before the end of this webinar. So please, for all participants, feel free to drop your question in the designated part Q&A at the bottom side of your screen. And to all our esteemed speakers, I'll be the timekeeper during this event. I also, I'm consuming a lot of time now, so I'm going to stop and head and give the microphone to the first speaker, Dr. Rawan. She will share with us all that you need to know about the feed additive registration in Jordan. Dr. Rawan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dina, for the nice introduction, and thanks everyone for dedicating the time to participate in this webinar. Without any further delay, I will start by sharing my presentation. So I will be, as Dina mentioned, talking about the feed and feed additive registration in Jordan. There are many regulations that regulate the feed additive registration. I mentioned the most important three among all, which are the instruction of regulation of the feed industry and trade and monitoring of feed factories. The second one is the registration instruction of raw feed material from animal origin, processed feed and feed material. And the third one is instruction for licensing imported feed material. And you can find the hyperlink for the three of them available on the website of Ministry of Agriculture. So the process of registration of a feed or a feed additive in Jordan starts with registering a company in the Ministry of Agriculture, applying for registration of a feed or the feed additive material. Then you will obtain the feed material registration certificate. After you have the certificate, you can apply for a permit of import or export. Then you will get a license for importing or exporting the feed material. Then you can freely trade the feed material in Jordan. So we will go with the first step in the process, which is registering the company in Jordan. A company, an institution, or a manufacturer who intend to deal with feed or feed additives should apply for a feed trading license. And this is obtained from the Ministry of Agriculture. Only agriculture engineers and veterinarians are allowed to apply for feed trading license. So the following papers are required to be submitted to the Agriculture Directorate: an organization plan for the property, and this could be obtained in Jordan from the Department of Land and Survey; a trade name and individual institutional registration certificate. This is from the Ministry of Industry and Trade in Jordan. And you need a rental contract from the property owner. And you need your professional practicing license from the designated professional association, either the Veterinary Association or the Agriculture Engineering Association. And this is actually the license. I'm sorry, it's in Arabic because we deal mostly in Arabic in Jordan. So you will get this license. This indicates that you are a registered company and you can trade feed in Jordan. Now, the second one is applying for registration of feed or feed additive material. You will apply, you have to submit a registration file. The papers in this registration file, first of thing is the authorization letter from the manufacturer in the country of origin, permitting the company in Jordan to register the feed products by that manufacturer. We need the manufacturing license of the producer, which is issued from a governmental institute in the country of origin and containing the registration number of that organization, and it should be legalized from the Embassy of Jordan in the country. We will need also a GMP certificate or any similar document for the manufacturer. We can go with ISO if GMP is not applicable in the country, or any other good manufacturing practice certificate. A free sale in Arabic or English issued by the institute responsible for the control of feed industry in the country of origin, clearly stating that the product is freely sold in the country of origin and legalized from Embassy of Jordan. And this is one of the most important conditions, because if the feed or feed additive is not allowed to be freely sold or trade in the country of origin, it will not be registered in Jordan. An original Arabic or English label of the product to be registered, the label must be conformed with the label specification issued by the Jordan Standard and Metrology Organization. A certificate of analysis issued by the producer laboratory or any other accredited laboratory, stamped, signed, and attesting that the actual analysis of the stuff to be registered conform with what are indicated on the label, containing batch number, production and expiry date, and the date of analysis. A technical data sheet in Arabic or English of the product to be registered, indicating the product kinds, propriety, using ratio, ingredients, components, analysis, additives, and containing no any harmful material, as well as public safety instructions. A stability study for the product, where the study is done on 30 Celsius for the actual stability study, and containing tested batch numbers, production and expiry dates, including the raw data like chromatograms if available, which cover the whole study period. Additional requirement for the registration of feed additives that containing herbals. We need a medicinal plant fact sheet, which contained information about the plant in general, such as the scientific name of the plant, the active ingredient, the medicinal benefit, in addition to the part of the plant that is used in the product submitted for registration, and the active constituent identification. A method of analysis for this specific active ingredient of the plant that is included in the composition of the product submitted for registration. Herbal compatibility, if the product contain more than 2 or 3 herbal extracts or herbal botanical extracts together. Effectiveness and safety study for the finished products, attaching the result of the study carried out by the manufacturer to determine the effective and safety dose of the recommended indication. And after the file will go into a committee. The committee will discuss if there is any notes. It will be given back to the person who applied the file, and after modification, this is the final certificate of registration. It goes Arabic and English, and the back paper is the label. Now, once you get your registration certificate, you can apply to import or export the feed material that you have registered. So a company or institution or manufacturer who tend to import or export any feed or feed additive should apply for import and export license from the Ministry of Agriculture. The following papers are required to be submitted: trade name and individual institution registration certificate, same as the one we mentioned before in registering the company. It should be submitted to another directorate in the ministry. Feed trading license, the one I mentioned before, which is the first step to register a company in Jordan. And the feed material registration certificate, the one that you have just issued recently. So there are general conditions for importing and exporting license. It will be a health certificate or a veterinary health certificate, a certificate of origin, and there are few special conditions, and those depend on the material from the Jordan Standard and Metrology Organization. So depend on the what is the feed or feed additive that you are having. There are special requirements or special conditions for that. And this is how you will get the final license. You will get a paper like this. This is the license to freely import or export. Actually, this is an import license. It's in Arabic, it's import license. There is a special one for export, and it's pretty much the similar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rawan, for the valuable information, and be on time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. David Vilakazi, who will explain to us the regulatory framework of animal feed in South Africa. David, the floor is yours. David?
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. Just put the presentation on slideshow, okay?
Good day, everyone. I am going to present the animal feed regulatory framework in South Africa. How is animal feed regulated in South Africa? Animal feeds in South Africa are regulated under the legal framework from Farm Feed, Fertilizer, Agricultural Remedies and Stock Remedies Act number 36 of 1947. This act is under the institution, the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, enforced by the Directorate Agriculture Input Control. The role of the legal framework is to regulate the import, sale, distribution, use, advertisement, manufacture, and disposal of farm feed products, is to ensure the safety, efficacy, and product labeling of all farm feed products. It also ensures the safe manufacturing through inspection of manufacturing facilities. The regulatory framework model in South the regulatory framework model in South Africa For local businesses, anyone who wants to sell or get involved in animal feed business must get a pre-marketing authorization. These cover all types of animal feed product. The registration number is allocated to each product after the Register of Act 36 has established if the product is safety and the facility where it is manufactured meets the legal requirements as per the regulations. The foreign businesses who wants to sell in South Africa must also get the pre-authorization from the registrar. And it's also, it applies the same model with the local businesses. Imported products must also comply with the Animal Disease Act if it contains any animal byproducts. Who may register the farm feed, or it's any company or business operators with a valid CIPRO, which is the certificate that is issued by the Department of Trade and Industry when a business or company is registered, and individuals in South Africa with a valid SA identity document. The turnaround period for registration, it's 7 days for certificates of free sales, 14 days for import permits and advertisements, 60 days for amendment of registration, and 120 days for a new registration. The registration remains valid for 3 years after every 3 years, which means it must be renewed. We all, animal feed product can only be registered in terms of this act if it meets the definition in terms of the regulations and can only be consumed by animal orally, is available for sale in any form. It contains undesirable substances below quantities specified in the regulations. Classification of animal feed in terms of this act, we've got complete feed, which is any mixture of acceptable feed intended for feeding of animals, be food, livestock or food producing animal, and pet food or companion as defined in the act. But for the purpose of this presentation, we'll be focusing more on livestock feed. We also have raw material, which may be a product of vegetable or animal origin in its natural state, fresh or preserved, derived from industrial processing, and organic or inorganic substances, whether or not it's used as a carrier or mixed in the feed. We've got feed additives, which is any intentionally added substances to feed premises feed, not normally consumed as feed by itself and as a direct or indirect nutritional value, and is not classified as medicine. And it can also be any substance that can affect the characteristics of the feedstuff, animal products, or animal performance. Under this complete feed, we've got a complete feed, concentrated feed, a complete feed, which the feed that can be fed to animal as a sole feed, concentrated feed, a feed that can be further mixed with other raw material, and we've got supplementary feed that can be your vitamins, minerals, or including the herbal supplements. We've got raw materials which can be of plant origin, animal origin, or a source of macro minerals. We also have feed additives, the nutritional feed additives, your vitamins, minerals, technological feed additives, your mycotoxin binders, antioxidants, sensory feed additives, your flavorants, and zootechnological feed additives, your microorganisms and enzymes. The required documents to apply for registration is the service request form, proof of payment, application form, product labels in duplicate, and application forms should also be provided in duplicate. Then Form C, which details provide the details for applicant and manufacturing facilities and supporting data or data requirements, which differ according to the type of product. The required documents, the product label. The product label must indicate the product name, the product classification in terms of definitions in the Act, the registration number as issued by the registrar once the application is approved, the guaranteed analysis, which also differ according to the type of product, the mass of the product, the ingredient statement, which indicates all the raw materials used in the formulating of the product, the warnings or any other storage condition, feeding instructions or recommendations, details of the registration holder, batch number, manufacturing date, or best before or expiry date. Data requirements for a livestock feed. The product must comply with the definition or classification in terms of Annexure 9 of the guidelines for farm feed registration of Act 36. We need a certificate of analysis, which include the method of analysis. We need the formulation report or the certificate of formulation, the product manufacturing flow chart, the free sale certificate or exporter compliance with local authorities or country of origin if the product is imported, a SACNASP registration certificate of a responsible animal nutritionist. A SACNASP is the professional organization that regulates the animal scientist as a natural scientist in South Africa. So to register animal product, you must have a registered animal nutritionist endorsing the product. So in terms of guaranteed analysis as indicated in the label, which must be indicated in the label for a complete beef and dairy cattle, we need the crude protein, urea maximum if added, total protein XPN if added, moisture maximum, fat minimum, fiber maximum, calcium minimum, maximum, phosphorus minimum. For sheep, goats, and game feed, we need crude protein minimum, urea maximum if added, protein XNPN, moisture maximum, fat minimum, fiber maximum, calcium minimum, maximum, phosphorus minimum, and copper maximum if it exceeds 22.5 parts per million. For mineral supplements for cattle, sheep, goats, and game, we need calcium minimum, maximum, phosphorus, salt minimum, maximum, magnesium, potassium, sulfur, and specific trace element in minimum, vitamins in minimum if added. For ostrich and turkey feed, we need a crude protein minimum, lysine minimum, moisture maximum, fat minimum, fiber maximum, calcium minimum, maximum, phosphorus minimum. For pigs, chicken, and poultry, we need crude protein minimum, lysine minimum, methionine minimum, moisture maximum, fat minimum, crude fiber maximum, calcium minimum, maximum, phosphorus minimum, and salt if added maximum. For turkey and geese, we need crude protein minimum, moisture maximum, fat minimum, fiber maximum, calcium minimum and maximum, phosphorus minimum, and salt if added. So for data requirements for raw materials, it must also comply with the definition in terms of Annexure 9 of the guidelines of farm feed registration of Act 36 of 1947. We also need a certificate of analysis, a 3-batch analysis with including method of analysis. The certificate of analysis that we need must be for a nutritional or composition, microbial analysis for a raw material of animal origin and undesirable substances. We also need the product manufacturing flow chart, product specification sheet or technical data sheet, material safety data sheet, a free sale certificate, exporters compliance with local authority or certificate of origin if the product is imported. The guaranteed analysis that we need for a raw material, if it's a raw material of plant origin, we need a minimum protein, maximum moisture, and minimum and maximum fiber for high fiber products. For animal origin, we need protein minimum, moisture maximum, fat maximum, H maximum, calcium minimum and maximum, and phosphorus minimum. Fats and oil, be of animal or plant origin, we need total fatty acids, minimum free fatty acid, minimum moisture, unsaponifiable matter maximum, and insoluble impurities maximum. Source of macro minerals, data required for this type of raw material, we refer to, it's more or less the same as the technical data required for nutritional feed additives. For a feed additive, we need to provide us with the detailed product overview, identification of active substance in the product, the chemistry and manufacturing of the product, where they give us the identity of a feed additive, its name, type of feed additive according to its main function, including composition and other composition of active substances and other components, its physical state, particle size, and manufacturing flows, product manufacturing process flow. Specifications for additives, the main additive as described in other international regulatory bodies as indicated in the presentation, the origin and other physiochemical characteristics, its purity, purification process, and media used in purification. We also need the physiochemical, technological, and biological properties of the additives, its stability in terms of its light, temperature, pH, moisture, and oxygen requirements, and its expiry date, its stability when it's mixed with food or other pre-mixtures, the possible decomposition and stability if stored with other food and other pre-mixtures, physiochemical or biological incompatibilities or interaction with other chemicals in the feed, the control method, descriptions of method used for determining stability, and description method for routine management of the additive in premix and feed. Toxicology, we also need the toxicological data, studies done on laboratory animals, acute toxicity, inhalation, skin and eye irritation, mutagenicity, pharmacokinetics aspects, subchronic toxicity, chronic toxicity, and reproductive toxicity. We also need the metabolism and toxicokinetics residues of the product, the regulatory status of the product in other countries, occupational health and safety concerning the product, and environmental studies concerning the product. The efficacy and safety studies, efficacy and safety studies in terms of doses and recommended usage, studies efficacy of the additive as conducted on the targeted animals, be broiler, layer, ostrich, turkey, or whatever animal that the product is intended to, and the study on the safety of the product on the targeted species at that recommended dosage and using instruction. Trial report from studies done on intended animals. So all this data must be accompanied with the certificate of analysis, including which should include the method of analysis. Must be a 3-batch analysis. We must also provide us with product specification sheet, technical data sheet, material safety data sheet, product manufacturing flow chart, stability data, manufacturer's compliance, be it ISO, GMP, or free sale certificate from the country of origin. Thank you very much. For more information on the framework, you can contact the registrar of Act number 36 of 1947 in the Department of Agriculture on the details indicated on the screen. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot, David. Thanks for the informative presentation. Up next is Dr. Luca Capodici, who will speak about the regulatory framework for animal feed in Europe and will explore with us the opportunities in promoting sustainable and animal nutrition. The floor is yours, Dr. Luca.
Thank you very much, Dina, for your presentation, and hello, everyone. So either good morning or good afternoon. So I will share my presentation as soon as the previous speaker will stop sharing, please.
David, could you please stop sharing your screen? David, can you stop sharing your screen, please? Thank you.
All right, so here is my presentation. I will put it in full screen mode, and please let me know if it is visible. Second, yeah, here it is. Can you see it?
Yes, but it's not yet on the slide show mode. Yes, perfect.
Excellent. So here's my presentation. So I'm going to explain a little bit more what is FEFANA, which is the organization where I work. And then I will introduce you to the EU requirement related to the animal nutrition. And then we will look at sustainability considerations in the EU and what are the challenges. So first of all, about FEFANA. FEFANA is a new association representing the industry of specialty feed ingredients and their mixtures. And this association this year turned 60. So there was a lot of celebration about this anniversary, which is very important. And this association is composed directly of membership of companies. So companies are directly populating the membership of FEFANA. 96 member companies are in FEFANA. And what we do in the association is to bridge a little bit with the decision makers at EU level. So we mainly work with the European Commission, but also European Parliament and Council. And we represent indeed some of the feed ingredients. So to better explain which feed ingredients we are talking about here, there is a sort of exemplification of the chain, let's say, the full chain from the production of feed till the consumers via the food of animal origin, which is in the middle. But specialty feed ingredients are being added in relatively small quantities in the feed, basic feed, feed materials for specific functions. As you can see, the business represents a very small volume, but relatively big value. So now I wish to give some elements related to the legislation at EU level. As you may know, the legal framework in the EU is quite rich, I would say, and a lot of measures are ensuring that feed safety at all stages of the production is ensured. Here I put a list of basic key legal acts, and all of them are hyperlinks, so they can be further explored. But what I want to emphasize is that at EU level, from a legal perspective, let's say feed ingredients may be those listed in the box on the right side. And so a basic distinction is in between feed materials and feed additives. But first of all, let's say also at EU level, at least feed business operators have to be registered in the competent authorities at national level. In certain cases, they have also to be approved. And this is very much related to the risk connected to the feed products to be handled. For instance, for pre-mixtures, which are a mixture of feed additives, not only registration is needed, but also validation from competent authorities, so inspections and so on. So feed ingredients, either you're a feed material and then your main purpose is to cover basic nutrition for animals, or you are a feed additive and you bring a function into the feed, into the animal. And here I try to make different characteristics of one or the other categorization. In case of feed materials, so basic nutrition, there is no pre-market approval needed in order to put a product in the market. Basic requirement is that your product has to be notified in a register of feed materials, which is online and which is handled by the business itself. So at EU level, responsibility lies with the feed business operators as a basic requirement. And so the feed additive functions in certain cases can also be carried by feed materials, but they should be secondary functions on top of the main function, which is nutrition. Case is different for feed additives, where you need a pre-market authorization. And when you get the approval, which is a long process, I would say, I will explain a little bit more later, your product will be inserted in an online register, which currently contains 1,500 additives. So if you Google EU register of feed additives, you will end up in this online database. So the purpose of a feed additive has to be to perform a specific technological, sensory, so technical or nutritional function. And in case of claims, as of today, you can claim only the authorized function, even if the additive has other functions. So from a legal perspective, either you are a feed material or a feed additive. You cannot be both at the same time. Nevertheless, when you put together your ingredients in a compound feed, of course, there is no pre-market approval, and claims are much more easygoing, let's say. Here I provide an overview, a non-exhaustive overview of the different categories of feed additives, which are valid at EU level. As I said, technological, sensory, nutritional, zootechnical, but also coccidiostats and histomonostats, which are the only category of feed additives for which prevention is allowed. In all the other cases, we don't talk about prevention. We talk about a sort of tertiary prevention. We talk about optimizing the status of animals in order to prevent possible diseases. And so the animals are fortified and more protected against pathogens. So this is very much related to the antimicrobial resistance, and which is a sensitive argument at EU level, the fight of it. And this could also give us a little bit the opportunity to talk about herbals. There was a mention in a previous presentation, botanicals. Yes, those products can be used as, for instance, digestibility enhancers. So taking care about the health of gut. And in this case, the benefit of the additive is quite clear. So for animals, the animals will be more resistant to stressors in general. In this very simple graph, you can see what is intended as a feed additive. So you input it into the feed for a specific function. The function is one of those listed in this table, an exemplification. And then you have an output, which is indeed performance, animal welfare, food quality, nutritional needs, and all the parameters which are listed here. And in Europe, we are struggling very much about demonstration of efficacy, which is very onerous in some cases. And it is needed to disclose a lot of scientific advancements in order to meet the requirements of our approval regulation. Then when it comes on sustainability considerations, so in Europe, of course, there is this thinking that all additives must not have any adverse effect on animal health, human health, and of course on the environment. So protection on the environment is already a legal requirement. And there is recognition at EU level about the role of feed additives in order to make more sustainable livestock production. And this is why, in case of intensive livestock production, this is the case of poultry and pigs production, the use of feed additives is considered among the best available techniques, which are listed in the EU in some documents called BREF, reference document on how to boost sustainability in case of intensive production. And this is the case for amino acids, for instance, for which there is a recognition about their use in order to optimize the feed conversion and lower emissions. And this is the case for certain additives, enzymes, for similar reasons. At EU level, there is a lot of policy making pushing farms to become more sustainable and to measure their sustainability. And we are following all these developments because they impact very much the business and the strategic asset of companies. there is a quite comprehensive position paper of FEFANA explaining why the use of feed additives has to be considered as sustainable. And this is an hyperlink, so I invite everyone to have a look at this. There is also a reference to the fact that certain products can support animal defense against biological stressors, and so doing fighting antimicrobial resistance. There is recognition and a lot of scientific literature supporting this. Oh, sorry. When it's about challenges and opportunities, as you may imagine, in the EU, we do need a lot of feed to meet the expectation of farmers. We have about 5 million of farmers using 450 million of tons of feed for their animals. And this is not considering pet. For pet, there is a specific figure in the slide. And to reach the goal of the EU strategic plans, which are called Green Deals and EU Farm to Fork strategy, we call to modernize our basic legislation, which is quite complex. Nevertheless, there is a lot of room for improvement. So actually in the EU, we are dependent on import for many plant-based proteins for animal feed. And this is why we are boosting the use of animal feed additives in order to lower as much as possible our dependency on proteins coming from outside the EU. So we push to have a greater efficiency and circularity in a way that independence of Europe can be a little bit helped. And then, of course, we see the use of specialty feed ingredients as a part of the solution. We are called, and this is happening a little bit everywhere, to do more with less, to be more efficient, to avoid any form of waste, to use any byproduct. And on this challenge, feed additives have a clear role. You can see here in the bullet point what are the main merits of additives. They help feed formulators in a very agile way. You can supply what is needed in order to meet animal needs. You can optimize the efficiency. This is the case of probiotics for good physiology. You can reduce also feed loss, and this is the case for preservatives. Also for environmental emissions, there are solutions, and a lot of research and development right now is pushing to that. There are some products registered also for methane inhibitors in case of ruminants, and also vitamins and minerals helping to keep animal in good health. Then, of course, when we talk about decision makers, we have to be credible and to show trustable numbers. This is why FEFANA, as a new association, together with the counterpart IFIF, which is the International Feed Federation, has been running for years several projects based on life cycle analysis of feed production and livestock production, and showing how much the environmental impact of producing livestock can be reduced by using feed additives. And you can reduce the global warming potential, you can reduce the eutrophication potential, the acidification potential, and others, let's say, impact categories, which are under the attention of the decision makers at EU level. Numbers and calculations are being supported by also the FAO at international level. So solid methodologies and LCA results are being produced in Australia, US, Europe, and we would like also to see a little bit more involvement from other world areas, since we are tackling common challenges, and we can focus on effective solutions and make treasure, let's say, about the result of research and developments and scientific findings to the benefit of the society. And this was my last slide. And if you have any question, I will be happy to take it.
Thank you, Dr. Luca. Thank you so much. Very interesting information. And I want to remind our audience, if you have any question to our speakers, please feel free to ask in the Q&A section. Now it's time to go back to Jordan, where Dr. Shourouk will share with us the efforts of Ministry of Agriculture to combat the antimicrobial resistance and the use of antibiotic as growth promoters in healthy animals. Dr. Shourouk, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will share my presentation. Is it okay?
There's an echo in your background, Dr. Shourouk.
Are you seeing the presentation?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Dr. Shourouk, just switch off your phone and only speak on your computer.
Okay.
Dr. Shourouk, are you still with us?
Yes, I am with you. Is it okay?
No, we still hear the echo.
I don't know why the echo. I open only one device.
Actually, she's not talking to the truth because if I check the participants, her computer, her phone is still there. I'm looking.
Is the presentation shared with you?
Yes, it is on.
Okay. The echo.
Shourouk, are you connected with the two devices there?
Yes.
Dr. Shourouk, are you connected with the two devices there?
No, one device. I open one laptop.
But it shows in our system you are connected with the two devices.
Okay, if you can start with the next speaker and I will check my phone.
Okay.
Dr. Nukusi?
But she needs to unshare.
Okay. Okay, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Nukusi, our next speaker. Dr. Nukusi will share with us his experience in the development of alternative feed strategies to local communities for sustainable rural agriculture. Dr. Nukusi, the floor is yours. You can share your presentation, please.
Yeah, can you help me how to share here? Because I'm not familiar with Zoom. I use Microsoft Teams in most cases.
No problem.
I think you have my presentation from your side. I sent yesterday. Can you?
Yes. Let me help you.
Yeah, can you share it on the screen, please, for me?
Okay, hang on 1 second. Asif, can we share from our side?
Where is the share sign here? I can't find it. Otherwise, I can do it. If I can find, yeah.
Do you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll share it for you. No problem.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Potikini Douglas Nkosi. I'm working for the Agriculture Research Council in South Africa. So I'm here to share to you some aspects in animal nutrition on the work that we are doing here in South Africa. The first point is that the situation of South African agriculture is that we have a dual agricultural situation where we have commercial versus emerging or smallholder farming systems. So the commercial farmer or formal animal feed industry, mostly they are registered under, they are affiliates of the AFMA. AFMA stands for Animal Feed Manufacturing Association in South Africa. And they produce on average 6.5 million tons of animal feeds. So nearly 60% of the feed that they produce is for the poultry industry. Feed is produced by dedicated feed manufacturing firms, feedlots, informal millers. So we are doing this following the Animal Feed Farm Act of 1947, as explained by Mr. David earlier. So in order to formulate feeds in South Africa, you need to have the license with the SACNAPS. So if you don't have, you won't be considered a professional animal nutritionist. And then any raw feed material should be registered with the Act. Then let's move to the next slide. Yeah. So the raw materials that you need to use in the formulation should be tested before being registered. And then ration formulated based on nutrient requirements following the National Requirements Council from the US, the standards of that. And then one of the challenges that we are having here in South Africa is for the crude protein resources. So the crude protein resources, we use soybean meal, which is mainly one of the crude protein sources that we are using, and it contains 39 to 45% crude protein with a high total digestible nutrient. But this product is very expensive in the market. Why is it expensive? It is because in South Africa, we produce not enough of soybean. And then we rely on imports from other countries such as Argentina. That's why the price of the soybean meal is quite high in the market. So in that case, we also have the situation whereby crude protein resources from animal origin, such as, for example, blood meal, they are prohibited. And then also feed urea. When you use feed urea, we have some challenges that some of the smallholder farmers might not understand how to use it properly, and can be dangerous when you don't use it properly. And then we have to look for some alternatives. The alternatives are oil cakes from oil industry. So we have some oil industries around the country that produce non-conventional oil cakes. So using these oil cakes, we have some challenges like toxicology. You need to test the toxicology from that product before you use it in animal resource. And then also, most of them, they are high in oil residuals. So when they are high in oil residuals, there might be a problem for ruminants, but we're being fine with the monogastric animals. And some of them, they are low in crude protein. And you might find that the crude protein from those oil cakes, they might be around 10%, which is quite low. And then that particular product will need some supplementation of crude protein. And then some of them, they are high in fiber. This high fiber product is a challenge to younger animals, and also especially to monogastric such as pigs and poultry. And then we can move to the next slide. Yeah. We also look at the agro-industrial byproduct. What we can say is that South Africa is rich in agro-industrial byproducts, especially in the Western Cape side. We have citrus pulps, grape waste, apple pulps, guava waste, potato waste, etc. So these kind of byproducts, they are rich in nutrients, for example, energy and sugar content. So the situation is that commercial farmers are collecting this kind of byproducts because they set up a contract with the producers, and then they've got the facility to drive or to transport this kind of byproduct to their farms. But in terms of the emerging or smallholder farmers, we have a challenge that most of the farmers, they don't have the suitable transport, and hence they can't have a contract with the producers. And also, the drying facilities to produce maize is quite expensive for them. They can't have them. And then some challenges in using this kind of agro-industrial byproduct is that since they are high in moisture, they can be easily contaminated, and then they can carry some unwanted microorganisms to the animals, and sometimes they are high in fiber, and they need drying facilities, and also they can be available in small quantities. So this kind of byproduct, they need to be processed prior to feeding too, in order to ensure the safety of the animals. Let's move to the next slide. Yeah, and then one of the processing methods that we are applying, especially with the smallholder or emerging farmers around, we are producing silage using this kind of byproduct. Why are we producing silage? We want to have enough feeds during the dry period or winter seasons, because most of the farmers, especially the smallholder farmers, they cannot have feeds during the winter or the dry season, and the quality of the grasses during those periods, they go down. So the nutritive value goes down, and the animals cannot maintain their body when grazing this kind of feed. So we are trying to preserve the feeds during the summer seasons, so that come winter, they might have enough feeds that they can feed their animals to maintain their body. So what is silage? We explained here that the silage is an acid fermented feed from an anaerobic processes, and then we need lactic acid bacteria. They are very low in forages. Then that's why we add silage additives like the microbial additive that can increase the number of lactic acid bacteria in the forage during silage, so that the forage can be preserved. So due to the challenge of the high moisture content from the agro-industrial byproducts, we try to use dry forages, or such as hay, and we chop the hay into smaller particles so that it can be compatible when we go back to the drums. And then also due to the high fiber content, we use enzymes there. We have various types of enzymes, the cellulose, the hemicellulose. These enzymes will try to break down the fiber content and make more sugar available for this lactic acid bacteria to preserve the forage. And then also we use lab inoculants that they add the number of lactic acid bacteria to the forage so that they can help to preserve the forage. In our case, we use these 210 liter drums. That is for manual silage production. And this is shown in the pictures below. So what we do at the moment, we are also working on inciting of forages from stadiums and agri-parks. That is, for example, in the stadiums and agri-parks, we get kikuyu and Arachrosis staph sometimes. And then these kind of forages, they are rich in protein, which can be used during the dry season, because the grasses, the standing grasses, the protein content of the standing grasses is low during the winter or dry season. So these forages, that is the kikuyu and Arachrosis staph, that we receive from the stadiums and agri-parks can bring in the protein that it requires by the animals. So what are we doing there? We just take the forage because it has been mowed, and then we mix it with 5% of sugarcane molasses. This sugarcane molasses will help to increase or to improve the sugar content of that mixture, and then the forage will be preserved by then. Then move to the next one. Yeah, and we also do some work on some greenhouse gas emission, because the work on greenhouse emission is a worldwide topic nowadays, and then it's a concern to animal scientists to try to develop some strategies to on reducing green gas emissions from the livestock, especially those animals that are grazing on the field. So in our case, we consider using feed additives. What we are using there, we have seaweed. The experiment on the use of seaweed to reduce methane is still ongoing, and also the one of using tenephorous forages such as Lotus corniculatus and Leucaena luferna. So these are ongoing research that we will consider as animal nutritionists here in South Africa. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, thank you very much for allowing me to present this way. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Dr. Nkosi. Let's move back to Dr. Shuru. Dr. Shuru, are you with us?
Yes, I am with you.
We
I
can
hope
hear
the
you
echo
well.
is
Yeah,
okay.
it's over. Yes.
Okay.
Please. Put the presentation on slideshow, and the floor is yours.
Slide share is okay.
Yes, it's working fine.
Okay, thank you again. Good afternoon for you all. I will talk today about the veterinary drugs, which is almost very related to your topics, which is animal nutrition. Firstly, our legal provision, we are undergo the umbrella of instruction number Z-on-4 for the year 2021. These instructions are for the manufacturing of veterinary medicines and veterinary medicines, biological preparations, and veterinary pesticides, which include the registration and licensing, circulation, and that is issued under the article number 44 of the Agriculture Law number 13 for the year 2015 and its amendments. The registration of the drug in Jordan, mainly we will talk about antibiotics. Antibiotics are undergoing with a strict registration procedures. The regulation states that all the drugs must be sold only after registration, and especially for antibiotic must be sold with a medical prescription and under the supervision of a veterinarian. The main issue for us is to optimize the use of antimicrobial in animal health, and this is to combat the AMR, which is the main concern that facing the drugs these days. We do a legislative review of the current regulation to identify the gaps to fulfill the global objective of the antimicrobial resistance action plan. We put a protocol for optimal use of antibiotics in the broiler poultry farms. Also, we set a control program on the prescribing and dispensing of antimicrobials for animal health through checking the records of the pharmacies and ask for these records to be available in the farms during sudden inspection. Now also a new committee is formed this year for animal sector to cover the 5 axes of the National Action Plan for Antimicrobial Resistance. Our goal this year is to cover the infection protection control in the poultry and the large animal farms, and the regulation and instruction for this point will be published very soon. Regarding the registration to combat the AMR, registration of some veterinary antibiotics that used as a growth promoter in animal feed is cancelled, and its importation also banned by the year 2080, such as like bacitracin, avelamycin, enromycin, and a lot of them. By the year 2021, we canceled the registration of colistin as it is considered as a highly important human antimicrobial drug. Also, levofloxacin registration is cancelled recently. Some products, such as azithromycin, are refused to be used as a veterinary drug. Also, we reject the registration of some antibiotics used in premix, such as flavomycin. Also, we add a requirement for the registration of drugs and mainly antibiotic. We need to add the withdrawal period on the label to ensure the safety, and ask to add a warning on the label to as a precaution to decrease the use of antimicrobials. Also ensure that the drugs are of good quality and safe through increasing inspection on the manufacturing plant to ensure that it follows the good manufacturing practice before registration of its products. Also, the importation of the raw materials is only restricted for the manufacturing plant to avoid the repacking and to increase the control on these products. Recently, we encourage the use of immunoglobulins and facilitate its registration. And in this year, we registered 4 immunoglobulin products for different companies. We encourage the use of the prebiotic to decrease the using of the antibiotic. Also, increase the awareness and enhancement for vaccination programs. Poultry fluke also must be accompanied by health certificate and pre-slaughtering inspection report before using. Our achievement, the national authority designated a national focal point for the human and animal sectors. We enrollment in the Global Antimicrobial Resistant Surveillance GLAS, the GLAS for human health and animal health. Jordan now is a member of the international organization as WHO, WHO, FAO, award committees to combat against antimicrobial resistance. A main laboratory to detect antimicrobial residue is under construction in the Ministry of Agriculture, and they will start their work by the next year. The challenge we are facing, mainly it is a social challenge, which is the use of antimicrobial in a healthy animal to prevent the diseases. Also, another problem is the fluke treatment, especially in poultry fluke. This is make the major concern. Also, not consider the withdrawal period when eating an animal product for such as meat, milk, eggs, and so humans are liable to consume whatever chemical the animal has consumed. Antimicrobial and other anticoccidial have been added in a low dosage to animal feed in which it faster its growth. They use it as a growth promoter. The cost of antimicrobial resistance to the economy is significant. In addition to death and disability, prolonged illness result in a longer treatment, so they need for more expensive medicines, new medicine, new technology, and financial challenge for those impacted. Finally, the control is mainly done by the inspection. The ministry increased their inspection on pharmacies and veterinary stores and asked for medical prescription for any antibiotic solid. Also, they sequestrated the illegal products, the products which are unregistered. And finally, regular review of the international update for antimicrobial resistance, in which we may need to cancel some registration for the products for its importance for animal health. And thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Dr. Shuru. And thanks to all our speakers. It's time now for the panel discussion. So I'm inviting all the speakers to join in and answer our audience question.
Excuse me, excuse me?
Yes, doctor.
Can I leave because I have another meeting now?
Okay, doctor. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have our first question here to Dr. Rawan from Jordan. It's about the time frame of registration of feed additive in Jordan. How long does it take? How much does it cost? And the same for import permit. How long does it take to get an import permit?
Okay, so for the registration of a feed additive, as per the regulation, it will take maximum 3 months. But now we are doing it within like 1 to 2 months, depending on the queue, because once you submit the file, you will get a number, like a queue number. And once your file is in the queue, it will be discussed immediately. So it will take around 1 to 2 months. But as per regulation, maximum 3 months. So let's say as per regulation, it will take 3 months maximum, and it will cost 50 Jordanian dinar to get the certificate. You will pay it like 10 JDs once submitting the file and getting the in the queue, and remaining 40 will be paid after the certificate is issued. For the permit license or the permit for import and export, it does not take time. Actually, if you have all the paper, it will be within 1 to 2 days issued. And it costs 10 JDs.
Okay, I would like to take the chance also to ask you about the online system that recently announced. If the registration is taking part in this system.
Yes. Well, yes, actually, our ministry is trying to electronize all the services. So they have recently started the online or electronic services. One of them is the certificate registration of a feed material or re-registration of the feed material. Now it's within the pilot phase. We have started both electronic and paper as well. And there are some things that need to be adjusted, and we are working on it. So maybe by the beginning of next year, we will go full electronic, hopefully.
Thank you, Dr. Rawan.
You're welcome.
I have a question here to Dr. Luca. It's about the role of EFSA in regulating feed additives in Europe. EFSA is the European Food Safety Authority.
Right, yeah. Actually, whenever a feed business operator is willing to register a feed additive, there is a specific regulation from the Commission, which is 429/2008. And this regulation foresees what is needed in terms of testing of the feed additive to demonstrate safety for animals, humans, and the environment. And then the EFSA is the agency of Europe judging on the studies to be performed by the applicant. So the applicant has the burden of proof to demonstrate safety and efficacy of the product. And there is a complete, comprehensive guidance also from the EFSA about all the testing which is needed for safety and efficacy. And the process is quite time-consuming and subject to transparency regulation. So the minimum in the best case scenario time to get an approval is 1 year. Yeah, it is.
It is long, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Luca. I have a question here to South African team, David. The question from Amisha. In South Africa, are there consideration to consider having some feed additive with no animal claims available without registration as per the EU? If the substance is known and the product is used for known use, like digestive enzymes, for example. David, could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. In South Africa, is there any consideration not to register some of the feed additives that are well known and commonly used, like digestive enzymes?
No.
Similar to the EU?
Yes, we register all the feed additives. All feed additives must get a pre-marketing authorization.
Okay. Even for well-established ingredients?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have another question to Dr. Rawan. Is there analysis for feed in Jordan? Do you perform any analysis?
Yes, actually, we do. And I didn't want to go into this because it will make the presentation long. So after, upon importing or exporting any material, it will be analyzed by Ministry of Agriculture and by feed section, especially when a local manufacturer is exporting. It will be upon the request of the receiving country. But when it's an important product, it will be analyzed in our laboratories.
Is there a fixed interval, or is it for every shipment, doctor?
For every shipment and even for every batch. If there is different batches in the same shipment, it will be a sample from each batch.
Clear, thank you.
Welcome.
For Dr. Luca, are there different procedures to deal with non-traditional types of feed that contain insect protein?
Right. At EU level, insects are authorized for pig and poultry, insect proteins. I know the legal framework is specific in case of food. So in case of food, then you fall in the scope of the so-called novel food regulation. So you need an application which is why it is more demanding. For feed purposes, let's say the authorization is easier. And of course, again, the responsibility is on feed business operators. I have to admit this is not my specialty because as FEFANA, we do not cover insects. But this is what I can say.
Thank you. Dr. Nkosi, I have a question here regarding, the fight against antimicrobial resistance and using of antibiotic as a growth promoter in healthy animals. From your expertise, what do you commonly suggest and advise the local customer to use as alternatives to increase the immunity of the livestock instead of using the antibiotic?
Okay, thank you. What we are doing here, we promote the use of, for example, for the high fiber content forages. We advise farmers to use enzyme products so that they can break down the fiber, increase the sugar content of those, and improve the digestibility as well. So, yeah, we have seen that in many cases, farmers, especially the emerging farmers, they've got their own way of doing things. You will find that you go around, you find the farmer using some the waste from sweets production, and then they use it to produce some leads using that. So you will learn lots of things around in terms of the production systems for the farmers. But what we have to say, we are promoting the safety, the animal welfare and safety, to say everyone who is producing or formulating diets for animals must just consider to understand the Farm Feed Act. That is the Act 36 of 1947. So that one we make sure about that. And also we advise scientists to be registered with SACNAPS so that they must to have the license and to take accountabilities in terms of the animal welfare. So these are things that we are looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nkosi. David, I have a question on the same topic. Is there any legislation implemented in Act 36 with this regards, with fighting the use of antibiotic for healthy animals as growth promoters? Is there any legislation that prohibit the users of antibiotics doing so?
Hello?
Yes, David, we can hear you.
Antibiotics are regulated by the Stock Remedy section of Act 36, which currently there are no specific regulations in place. However, the industry, they develop their own products, use phytogenic substances to use alternative to antibiotics. Currently, we do not have any regulation in place that prohibit or control the use of antibiotics. We align with the national guidelines and the international guidelines as far as antibiotic use is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, David. The final question to Rawan. Do you consider animal performance data before registration?
Do we consider animal performance? Can I get clarification about the question? Do you mean
actually, this is the question from Dr. Nkusi, correct? You can explain more, Dr. Nkusi, to us?
Okay, what I was asking is that I didn't see during her presentation about the requirement, one of the requirements to have animal performance data before registration, because this is one of the critical aspects, to have the performance data to say, when you use this, where did you test it on animals? Because of the welfare of animals. So I was just asking if you consider the animal performance data before registration to say how the animals react to that particular product.
Yeah. Actually, we do. I didn't put it in the presentation, and not to make it longer. But actually, we ask for published field trials about the end product and how does it affect the animals. And if you see, even we ask for toxicology data and safety and efficacy in terms of feed additives that have herbal extracts as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is it for today. Thank you very much to all our speakers for answering the question and for your great contribution to the event. Indeed, today we learned a lot about the different regulation on feed in the region, and also about the sustainability concept in animal nutrition. And let's say this is what we really believe in Adissio. Our mission is to feed the planet in a sustainable way. Thanks again. It was our pleasure to have you with us. Thanks, MEVMA's team. Special thanks to Madre for her support and dedication. Thanks to PRA Consultancy and HubPlus, everyone there. Thank you for your support. And of course, thanks to our attendees for joining us, and hope you enjoyed the discussion, and see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.